She was raised in a Jewish family in Brooklyn, had a successful 15-year business career as an executive with corporations in New York and California, became an evangelical Protestant, and is now a Catholic nun on a mission. She's a messenger of hope in a world that has lost its way. It's Heart to Heart with Mother Miriam. Join Mother Miriam as she accompanies you in the joys, struggles, and challenges of your life. Call 888-914-9149. Now here's your host, Mother Miriam.
Hello, beloved. How are you? I hope you had a good weekend. And what is the basis of a good weekend? It's not circumstances, but it is walking with God, who loved us and gave himself for us. I was in a conversation this morning with a most beloved soul who is a wonderful Catholic and really down in the dumps because of circumstances. And I remember, I think our brother, I think his name was Eric, called in a couple of months back and said, God took my job away, and he took this away, and he took that away. And no, he didn't. He said, no, it was the devil that did it. He said, I know that's Satan. And I said to him, I don't think it's Satan. I think it's God. Because if we depend on circumstances for our security, our well-being, then God in his love will remove them from us, not as a punishment, but as an instrument of his pruning love to bring us to trust him. So that we could rest in his love and trust that he's really, really, really there for us. Not to give us what we want, sometimes to withhold from us what we want in order that we may have what we need. And if our trust is ever in the gifts more than the giver, then the giver who gave his life for us may withhold those gifts from us, not because he doesn't want us to be happy, but our happiness cannot be in them. They must be in the giver. And that way we become detached from the things of this world that hold us back. And we are free to love God and to walk with him, to be all that he's made us to be. So I invite you to call in today. If you have struggle with trust or struggle even walking with God, even knowing if there is a God, knowing if he loves you. What if you don't feel like he loves you? Does that mean he doesn't? What part do our emotions play? Are the emotions a gift from God? Indeed they are. But they're fallen like everything else, and we cannot use them as a barometer of our walk with God, how we feel. We could be down in the dumps, and God may have not removed himself from us at all. Or we could be in the height of happiness, and God may not even be a part of it, you see. So our barometer, our feelings are not the barometer or the measurement of our spiritual state or our walk with God. In fact, when we're in control, we'll never know our state with God. It's only when we're not in control and things fall apart from our perspective. It's our reaction, not our actions, but our reaction that always shows us where we are with God, always shows us the degree of our trust, the degree of our faith, the measurement of our walk with God. So it's a wonderful thing. It doesn't feel wonderful when it hurts, but God is so faithful to raise us up. And if we don't care to be raised up in his love, well, he might let us have our way. But if we want to grow in patience and love and trust and even ministry, apostolate for his name, all of that, then he's going to bring the pruning knife that's going to shape us into men and women of God. And it always hurts. It always hurts. But it's the way to become great saints or even devoted Christians. So I love it when you call in. I don't like being alone on this side. And the toll-free number is 888-914-9149. 888-914-9149. Feel free to call on any matter at all. Maybe you're Jewish or Muslim or non-Catholic Christian or Buddhist or anybody, but you're out there. And if you're out there, you're my brother or you're my sister. And I would love to speak with you. No matter what the matter it is, I may not have an answer for you, but we'll give it a try. So I have before me the gospel of today is from the Gospel of Matthew, and it's a parable about things that start very, very, very small, but it's those tiny little things that God uses to permeate the world and build his kingdom. The scripture from Matthew chapter 13 says, here's another parable Jesus put before them. The kingdom of heaven, he said, is like a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of all seeds, but when it has grown, it is the greatest of shrubs and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and make nests in its branches. And some people have said, who are a little more savvy in scientific matter or horticulture or other things, you know what? It's not the smallest seed that has ever been created, and that's true. But a mustard seed, the idea here of a parable is the main point that it makes, and it's a very tiny seed, very, very small seed. Not the absolute smallest ever, but the smallest of seeds, perhaps even in that area in Israel, but very, very small. But when it is grown, it becomes a huge, huge tree, and the birds of the air come and make nests in its branches, and they love they love feeding on the mustard seed. And that's a picture of the kingdom that starts very, very small in the hearts of men and would spread to the four corners of the earth. And then Jesus says the kingdom of heaven is also like leaven, L-E-A-V-E-N, like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of flour until it was all leavened. When something is leavened, it's like yeast. It rises. It rises. That's why the Passover, the matzah, the Passover bread, is unleavened bread. It never got the opportunity to rise when it was in the ovens of Egypt, and the Jews fled from Egypt, and they got the bread out of the ovens before it even rose, and so it wasn't leavened. It was just flat. And the Feast of Unleavened Bread at Passover, which follows the Passover for 7 days, is to recall God's rescue of them, how he rescued them with his outstretched arm. And it's the Feast of Unleavened Bread that they would never forget by that sign of unleavened bread. But it also permeates. When we were growing up in my Jewish home, when we went, if we moved to another house, either as individuals or as a family, my mother would pack up 2 things in a plastic bag. She would put a little piece from a loaf of bread, just a little, tear it off with the fingers, just a little clump of bread from a loaf in the house, and she would put salt in there in a plastic bag and a little clump of bread, and we would take it with us. And the point was that a little leaven leavens the whole dough. And leaven, some people think when Jesus spoke about the leaven of the Pharisees, that leaven is sin. It's not sin. Leaven is influence. If it's a sinful influence, it will permeate and that will spread. If it's a good influence, that will spread. It's neutral, actually. It's not good or bad. It's just influence. So when you put the leaven, you make a whole new loaf of bread, and it just passes through the bread, and the whole bread rises. And so with the idea of that is to take a clump of bread from our home and put it into our new home, and therefore bring the influence of our Judaism, of our identity, of our heritage from the home that we grew up in into, maybe if someone married, into the new home. So the tradition, the identity, the customs, the vocation, the responsibility as a people would permeate the new home. And the salt is to purify. It's to purify, to make holy, and so the salt would do that, be sprinkled in the home and make that holy, which is what we are when Jesus said we're salt of the earth, we are to bring the witness of God and his holiness and permeate the whole world with it. And that's why Jesus said, well, what happens if the salt becomes saltless? It's trampled underfoot. It has no influence at all anymore. It has to be pure. It has to be pure. It says, all that this Jesus said to the crowds in parables, he said nothing to them without a parable. And that's what was spoken through the prophet, that he would the Messiah would open his mouth in parables and utter what has been hidden since the foundation of the world. And we can talk more about that, but we have a call from Kim from Long Beach, California. Are you there, dear Kim?
Yes, I am here. Hi, Mother.
Hi, Kim.
Hi. I'm calling because I was talking with the screener. I am a cradle Catholic, born and raised, and I love my faith, but I've really been struggling with going to Mass every week, and it's not the Mass that I struggle with. It's the people I have to deal with, or the parishioners that are just so cold. And it's almost, and it's, I've gone to 2 or 3 different parishes, and because I'm new to the Long Beach area, so, and I just am struggling. And
okay, good. Kim, can you hang on till after the break, and we'll come right back?
Oh, sure.
Okay, hang on.
Heart to Heart with Mother Miriam. Call now, 888-914-9149. Now here's Mother Miriam.
Hello, beloved. Good to be back with you, and I'm glad you're still there. And Kim, are you still here with us?
I'm still with you, Mother.
Oh, very good, very good. And you were saying, for those who may have just joined after the break, that you're Catholic, and you've always been Catholic, and you've been struggling going to Mass because you don't connect with the people. What else was there?
Right, I don't connect with the people, but I also, I think a part of it, too, I have to be honest, is I tried joining a ministry, like a bereavement ministry, and one of my passions also is assisting those who have suffered from, abortion and gaining their faith back and gaining, that type of thing. And I was pretty much approached that at one parish stating that, we can't help. We can do bereavement ministry for stillborns and for those who have had miscarriages, but abortion doesn't count. And that just kind of put me over the edge because of how I know it's a very liberal city I live in, and it's just been quite frustrating. I just don't know what to do. I'm letting myself seclude more and more.
Yeah, that's not good, Kim. Well, let me say 2 things. First of all, and foremost, above all things, dear Kim, we don't go to church for fellowship. We don't go to church to connect with the people. We don't go to church for any social reason whatsoever. Those functions can take place outside of Mass in many, many, many ways. We don't go to church to minister. We go to church for one reason only, and it's to worship God, who is worthy of all our worship. I'm not saying that I'm saying something that you don't know, dear Kim, but it's important to be said because the Protestant mindset has permeated the Catholic Church. Protestants church hop and church shop for fellowship and to connect with the people and do all of that. And it's not a bad thing whatsoever. But in the day that the world was a little more intact than it is now, in 13th century pre-Reformation Europe, before the Reformation, before Protestantism, when the family was much more intact, when the identity of people was more intact, It doesn't mean there wasn't sin and distortion, but it was much more intact than today. The church went to church. In other words, Europe was Catholic. Before the United States, Europe was Catholic. And they were Catholic in everything they did. There was no separation between religion and secular. Everything, they were Catholic. It permeated the schools and the marketplace and their homes, every place. They lived their faith. It wasn't going to church on Sunday and live during the week as if God doesn't exist. But it wasn't two worlds. It was one world. They were Catholic, living in the world that God gave, and they saw all things coming from God, and they were a family. And when they went to church, it wasn't to fellowship. It wasn't to connect with other people. That would be a distraction. They went to church to worship God, not to get anything out of the Mass. They went to give. They went to give God their worship. That's the reason to go to church. If there are certain relationships that are formed from that, or any fellowship results from that, maybe at coffee and donuts and that sort of thing, or you get involved in certain outreaches and ministries, those are very good things. But that's not the reason to go to church. It's to worship God. Now, if the church itself... Go ahead, Kim.
I said I needed to hear... Oh, I'm sorry. I just said I so needed to hear that.
Okay,
I
good.
Needed to be reminded of the whole point. Yes.
That's it, Kim. That's it. And nothing else. It's not that we go to church in spite of the people. We don't go to church in spite of the people. Period. We go to church to worship God. The more we love God, the more we will love people. The more we love God, the more we won't worry about connecting with them. We'll just reach out to them. It won't be nearly the problem. If the decor of a church looks like a gymnasium, and if the preacher is, the pastor is putting on a show and the Mass is not reverent, then you have a problem. And then you could either worship through that if you're unusual, or you could find a more reverent parish, which I would do if that was the case. But don't worry about the people. Just go to worship God. And as far as the point about the bereavement ministry, to not care about women that have had an abortion, my goodness, that's just not even sane thinking, if I could just say it so strongly. If you're not able to do that at your parish, just go to Rachel's Vineyard. Go to a ministry that is reaching out to women who've had abortions, if that's what's on your heart. If that's the gifts God has given you, if that's the heart He's given you, go to where you could do that or start it. You know, that sort of thing. Are you familiar with, because you're in Long Beach, it's Father Ed Broom, and, I can't think of the name of the parish, the name of the priest. I used to go there daily when I was in California. It's a fabulous church in Long Beach.
No, I'm not.
All right, Kim, look up, I just can't think of it right now, Catholic Church in Long Beach, and type into internet search Father Ed Broom. I think it's Broome. And Father Larry Darnielle, at least Father Larry Darnielle, I think Darnell was the pastor when I was there. They're a religious order of priests, and they couldn't be more wonderful. It's a holy, wonderful parish. So I just recommend that you might search them out and visit them.
Absolutely, I will do that. Thank you so much, Mother.
All right.
Really
God bless you. God bless you, Kim. Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We have Isaiah calling from Las Vegas. Are you there, dear brother?
Yes, hi.
Hi, Isaiah. Tell me what your question is, dear one.
My question is, why do we call each other brothers and sisters?
Oh, this is a wonderful question, Isaiah. May I ask how old you are?
I am 9 years old.
Oh, God bless you, Isaiah. God bless you. How long have you had this question? How long have you been thinking about this?
Today when I was with my mom and we were reading and she was talking to me about her book that it was defending the Catholic faith.
All right. Okay, good. There's a couple of answers to that in that case. The main reason we call ourselves brothers and sisters, I'm going to ask you this, actually, Isaiah. Do you know the name of our first parents?
I do know my first name.
Oh, no. I didn't mean to go that way. Let me ask you again. The couple that was in the Garden of Eden? The woman and the man that were in the Garden of Eden that, remember, Adam and Eve. You got it. And actually, Adam means man and Eve means mother of the living. And so they're our first parents because they're the first couple God created. God created Adam. He created man. And from Adam's side, he created woman, who was Eve. And so the entire human race comes from Adam and Eve. You see what I mean, Isaiah? So because we all of us, no matter when we live, whether it was 1,000 years ago or it's going to be 1,000 years from now, all of us, the whole human race comes from Adam and Eve because they were the first parents. So they had Cain and Abel and Seth and all of that, and they got married and had children, and they had tribes, and so the human race spread to the four corners of the earth. But the very first man and woman on the earth who had a child were Adam and Eve, and so all of us could trace our heritage as human beings back to Adam and Eve, which is why we can truly say, I could say to a Jewish person, I could say to a Muslim, I could say to an atheist, I could say to anybody, you're my brother and you're my sister, because we have the same parents in Adam and Eve, even though it was a long time ago. So that's one reason, Isaiah. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, now the other reason, if you were talking about a book with your mom on the Catholic faith, the other reason we call ourselves brothers and sisters is in a spiritual sense, because Adam and Eve turned from God, and Jesus is called the new Adam, and Mary is called the new Eve. Do you know why? It's because Jesus died on the cross to pay for the sin that Adam caused in the garden, you see? And so when we put our trust in him, we are now children of the new Adam, who is Jesus Christ. And so in Jesus, we are brothers and sisters in Jesus. You see, spiritually we're brothers and sisters if we have put our trust in Christ, if we've been baptized into him. Isaiah, I hear the music. We're coming up against a break. You're welcome, dear brother, to hold on till after the break if you wish. Okay, be right back.
This is Heart to Heart with Mother Miriam. Call now to join the show. 888-914-9149. Now here's your host, Mother Miriam.
Welcome back, beloved. Little brother, Isaiah, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
I'm so glad, dear Isaiah. Did you have any questions or any further thing to add to what I was saying or explaining about both physical brothers and sisters through Adam and Eve, and we're spiritual brothers and sisters through Jesus Christ, and the new Eve, who is Mary?
Oh.
See, Mary is called the new Eve because by Eve's disobedience, Eve led Adam into sin in the garden, right? The serpent tempted her, and she ate, and then she gave to Adam, and he ate. And so the serpent got to Adam through the woman. And so Jesus, the new Adam, came to us through the woman, through the virgin birth, who is Mary. And so Mary reversed, as Eve was disobedient, Mary was obedient. You see, so Mary is the new Eve meaning the new mother of the new living in Jesus Christ. So Jesus is the new Adam, and the Blessed Mother is the new Eve. You got it, don't you, Isaiah?
Now I get it.
What's that?
Thank you.
You're welcome, dear little brother. God bless you. God bless you, Isaiah. And we haven't... Thank you, dear one. Thank you. We have a call from Kelly from Arizona. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Mother. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking my call. I wanted to ask you if you could explain a little bit of the history of the miraculous medal and what would the benefits be for wearing it.
Well, I wish I could do a better job than I'm going to be able to do. But if you do a search on the internet on Saint Catherine Laboure, Laboure, she was a young girl and longed to see the Blessed Mother in person. Longed to see her. And one day she got a message that the Blessed Mother was waiting for her, and the Blessed Mother actually appeared to her. And told Catherine to have a medal struck, which is to say made, carved out, that was the image of the Blessed Mother who appeared to her, and that and that she's our mother, and the prayer that was to surround the image of the Blessed Mother was the prayer that is to this day on the miraculous medal. Pray to us who have recourse to thee. Speaking about our mother, pray to us who have recourse to thee. It's an image of Our Lady of Grace, with the grace coming out of her hands in beams of light. It was basically just a medal, but it just was an image of Our Lady, but and again, the image we know is Our Lady of Grace, but it became called the Miraculous Medal because many miracles happened because of it. Healings and all kinds of things happened. So the problem with something like that, or the can be a problem, something that can be a problem, is that people begin to use what God has given and worked miracles through. They begin sometimes to use it as kind of a rabbit's foot, a lucky charm. That's never the point. It always is God who gives us his grace, and he gives us his grace through the Blessed Mother. She is the mediatrix of all graces. But it's not that the medal works, it's that God works, and he and Our Lady choose to give certain graces through people in certain circumstances, not necessarily based on the strength of their faith. So when we wear the miraculous medal, what we're doing is honoring an image of Our Lady, that she herself came from heaven to give herself to us in that way, that we would always have a reminder that she's our mother and that we have recourse to her, and that in every single circumstance she prays for us, she intercedes for us to her Son, who answers every prayer. But if you go further and look up St. Catherine Laboure and the Miraculous Medal, you'll see much information. In fact, Kelly, there's a huge story about the Miraculous Medal. Also, if you research St. Alphonse Ratisbon, he was a Jew, an atheistic Jew, and he had a friend who was a faithful Catholic and used to wear the Miraculous Medal. And St. Alphonse Ratisbon, he wasn't saint then, used to mock his friend and mock the stupidity of such blind faith. And his friend said to him, well, if you think it's just nothing, why don't you wear it? He dared him to wear it. And Alphonse said, I'll wear it. It's just a piece of metal. It's nothing. And so he wore it, and they went into a church in Rome. I'm trying to think of the name. I can't think of it at the moment. Frate, I can't think of it. But because I think the friend of his had some business with an attorney there. I'm sure I'm getting a couple of facts wrong, but he left Alphonse downstairs in the vestibule, sort of the lobby. And when the friend came back down, he found Alphonse Ratisbonne on his knees with tears streaming down his face because the lady on the miraculous medal appeared to him in person and instantly infused the entire Catholic faith into Alphonse Ratisbonne. He was completely transformed, instantly infused, became a priest, and it's on Della Frate in Rome. And that church today has a shrine there. We have the Lady of the Miraculous Medal, a full image of Mary with lit stars around her head, and on one side is the bust, the top of Alphonse Ratisbonne, and on the other, Maximilian Kolbe, who used to pray at that shrine, and John Paul II went and prayed there as well. So God has given enormous graces and Our Lady through that medal. But basically, when we wear the medal, we're honoring our mother and honoring the Son who gave us such a mother.
Thank you very much. That's a beautiful sharing, and I will do a little more research on it.
Oh, good, Kelly. Okay, God bless you. God bless you, dear one.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we have full lines open, and you are not calling in. And I need you to call in with any question at all. Someone's going to stump me. I know that. Well, I've already been stumped. I can't always answer everything, but I love it when we help each other. And so I'll give you the number again. It's 888-914-9149, 888-914-9149. And we've had some wonderful callers. I'm getting a little note here. We have some wonderful callers from St. Peter Chanel, the church in Long Beach, actually Hawaiian Gardens, which is in or near Long Beach. The church I was trying to think of with Father Larry Darnell and Father Ed Broom. That's such a magnificent parish. So if you're in that area in California, or even if you're not, if it's worth an hour drive to go there, and it's just truly wonderful. And if anybody's listening to me out there in Long Beach, would you please tell those two dear priests, Father Ed Broom, I believe, is still there. I'm not sure about Father Larry Darnell. I hope so. If I were in there, I would go visit them. But please give them my love and everlasting gratitude for their enormous example of holiness, of sacrifice, of lives dedicated to Christ and his kingdom. Every priest in there is a holy, holy priest, fully to be trusted, faithful to the church, and utterly sacrificial lives. So I am grateful when I meet such priests, and I would travel 2 hours to go to those holy priests. And there are oblates of the Virgin Mary. That's the religious order. If you're passing through Long Beach, go visit. So I know some folks are calling in, so I'm so glad that you're doing that. We were talking about in our scripture today about the mustard seed and about leaven, and God starting with tiny, tiny seeds to build his kingdom. And he would encourage us, or I would encourage us all to be little mustard seeds. How do you be a little mustard seed? Maybe you're in a home where you're the only Catholic. Maybe you're a wife whose husband's not Catholic, a husband whose wife's not Catholic, a Catholic couple whose children have left the faith. Become a mustard seed. Become the real thing. It doesn't matter how small you are. It doesn't matter how small you are. What matters is that you're true. What matters is that you're real. And what matters is that you live the faith without any compromise whatsoever. Don't lose sight that we are here. We are saved to love God, to worship him above all things, and by a life of love and holiness and faithfulness to spread the message of his love to the entire world. And we'll never be able to convince anyone of a message that's contrary to the life we live. Don't be afraid to sacrifice. Don't be afraid. You can't change anybody. You can't change your children or your spouse. You can only change yourself. And when we become holy, the world will want to follow. Okay, I hear that music. We'll be right back after the break. We have Yolanda and a few other people on hold. We'll get right back to you.
Advice and opinions heard on Heart to Heart are for educational purposes only. Now here's your host, Mother Miriam.
Hello, beloved. Welcome back. Let me see. Oh, my goodness. Look at all of you people calling in right at the last segment of the program. We'll see how many we can get to. We'll go fast. We have Yolanda in Rockland, California. Yolanda?
Yes.
Hi. How you doing?
Hi. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. What is your question, dear one?
Well, I have a question. I pray the Holy Soul Rosary every day. And in there are scriptures that you recite before you recite the Hail Mary. Well, I'm so confused. I don't understand the meaning of it. It's in Corinthians 1, and I believe it's verse 15. It goes something like, if the dead are not baptized, why are the dead baptized? Or something like that. I don't know it by heart. But I asked my priest at my church, and he didn't know. And I want to know what it means.
You know what? It's a confusing to us. It's the only instance of that expression. In the full expression means that someone is being baptized for the dead, and there's no, because it's the only instance in Scripture. There's no real clarity on that we have. We know that we cannot be baptized for another person, and the context of Corinthians is the resurrection, and so the idea of the dead being baptized or having been baptized simply affirms that they're going to be raised with Christ, you see, because they're baptized. So I'd have to look back in the passage because the whole argument is if the dead aren't raised, then what's the point? So if they're baptized, why would they be baptized if there's no resurrection? But we can't be baptized on behalf of another person. So I've not come across anything or anyone or any book that's really explained that. I think people try to, but I don't know how much clarity we could have on it, Yolanda. The point is that whoever is baptized is going to be part of the resurrection, unless, of course, they've turned from Christ, but turning from Christ is not part of the passage of Paul. Right. That's the best I can do, dear one.
That's okay. At least I know that I'm not. I mean, I was totally confused. I thought, why can't I just get this? I read it every day, and I can't get it.
Well, nobody's gotten it for 2,000 years. Maybe that'll be a comfort to you on that one. No one really understands. We take stabs at it, but I think it's basically supporting. Why is somebody baptized if they're not going to be in heaven? If the people don't get resurrected, what's the point of baptism, which makes us a new creation to live forever with God? See, I think that was behind it, but I can't say for sure.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well,
all right.
so much.
God bless. God bless. You too, Yolanda. Pat in Scottsdale. Are you there, dear Pat?
Yes, I am, Mother Miriam.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, Mother Miriam. I listen to IH Radio. It's all I listen to. And,
good.
Your soothing words and the way you address the callers, it's wonderful. I want to preface this.
Thanks to God. Thank you, Pat.
To you.
Thank you.
But I was so unhappy or disturbed a couple of weeks ago. I am almost 70. I was a very, very devout Catholic and a 21-year-old virgin when I got married right out of college. And I was married in the Catholic Church, but I married Protestants. But he went through all the instructions and everything, and we divorced. And I had a couple of marriages after that, outside the church. So in other words, I was committing adultery.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have God is the center of my life. I haven't dated in probably 15 years. I have no intentions of dating. I am married to Jesus Christ. But I had kind of a meltdown a few years ago and went to my priest and was just worried about my salvation.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were going to be going through this annulment process with the marriages. And the next day I got an email from him, and he said, I spoke to you with our senior pastor who's retired, did not bring up your name, but he said, if you never want to remarry, if you do not date, you do not have to get any annulments. And he said, welcome home. And it was like the weight of the world off my shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
I just cried and cried.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt so comforting by those words. I just felt like I was home. He said, however, if you ever think you want to remarry, if you ever think you want to start dating, then we have to get these annulments.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, it will never happen.
Mm-hmm.
And Mother Miriam, it hasn't. I
Okay.
won't even so much as have a cup of coffee
Okay.
with another man or whatever. But a couple weeks ago, unless I misunderstood what you said, I heard you say that if you are divorced, you are not to receive communion.
No, I would never have said that.
Over it.
No, I would
Okay,
never have
that's
said
all.
that.
Thank goodness.
No, Pat, if someone is divorced and living with a man, then they have to be chaste. The only way to receive communion is to live as brother and sister, to go to confession and live as brother and sister. And you're living a chaste life. There's no problem with your receiving communion. But if a divorced person lives with somebody else and they're living in an intimate union, which you know is adultery without it, or can be without it, and you don't know if the first marriage is valid if you haven't gotten a decree of nullity. If someone's divorced and they've remarried civilly, then they must not receive communion if they're living in an intimate situation. If they live as brother and sister, they can receive communion.
You know what? I just cried. I was almost shaking. I thought, what have I been doing? I have been sinning. I have been receiving, because I'm a Eucharistic minister for the homebound. I am in so many ministries, and I feel like I'm married to Jesus Christ. I was so upset that I ended up making an appointment for next Tuesday with another pastor from another parish.
Upset because of what you thought you heard me say?
Yes, yes.
Okay, Pat, let me just sum this up because we have other callers and I really need to get to them out of fairness. No, I never would have said if you're divorced you can't receive communion. The idea is living in an unchaste situation. So if somebody is divorced and living with another man or another woman, then you must not receive communion because you're living in a situation of mortal sin. To be divorced is a civil situation. It says nothing about your marriage. The issue is whether or not you've been married in the church. So a divorced person, those priests were right in everything they told you. Welcome home. It's a wonderful thing, Pat. You're free. And it's just, again, if you ever wanted to be with a man again or anything like that, then you'd have to go through the annulment process. But no, you're free. Cancel that appointment on Tuesday.
Thank you so much.
Oh, Pat, you're a dear. You're a dear. God bless you and continue to make you a blessing to others. All right, my sister, you're good. I wish everyone had your heart. God bless you. Okay. We have Mark in Hawaiian Gardens. Are you there, Mark?
Yes, I'm here, Mother Miriam.
Okay, good. I think it was you I tried to get a hold of before, but we couldn't connect. So I'm glad you called back. Tell me your question.
My question is, I'm going to a family reunion next week. I'm married with 2 children, 9 and 12. My nephew is going to be at the family reunion, has a child out of wedlock. Probably like 8 months ago. We haven't told our children. We were just hoping I've heard there's been talk of marriage, but we kind of was hoping that might have happened.
Oh, my dearest Mark, dear brother, I have to interrupt you because there's the music for the end of the program for today. I am just so sorry. If you could give us a try tomorrow again, and we could spend more time, call toward the beginning of the program, I would love it. I am so sorry, Mark. I'll at least pray for you, but we need to say goodbye right now. I'm so sorry. And for Bill, who's waiting, and Matt, you got to call in earlier. What can I tell you? And I talk too much, but I love you, and together we'll live for God. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye bye.